As Ramatirtha said, open your eyes and the universe teaches you Vedanta. When we open our eyes, we see what is. Yeah, we are back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic, and today we're going to cover the 4 states. The 4 states that have been articulated for thousands of years within this philosophy, within this timeless philosophy, the 4 states of consciousness. There is the deep sleep state that we're going to cover. Then there is the dream state, the waking state, the one that we are ostensibly in right now. And then there is the 4th state. The 4th state of consciousness, which contemporarily would be called liberation or moksha or nirvana or enlightenment. I mean, these are all just sounds coming out of our mouths that point to something that is not a sound coming out of our mouth. So you could use any word for it. And I recently learned that self-realization is really just a word created in the last couple hundred years to try to articulate it in English. Before that, you'd have words like moksha, which would be loosely translated as liberation, a Sanskrit word. But actually before that, it would just be called turiya, the Sanskrit word for 4th. The 4th state would just be called 4th. And we're told from this timeless philosophy that that is our natural state, the state of pure awareness, pure consciousness, liberation. That 4th state, that is that absolute state, our natural state that we all come from, that we're all destined to return to. This waking state is, as we're told, a projection of the mind. That will be the phrase that gets used a lot. Technically speaking, it's more of a projection of ignorance, an illusion of separation. Out of ignorance, we think there is separation, much like in the dream. The person in the dream thinks they are separate from the other people in the dream. And from that dream state, they'll swear by it. They'll perceive it. And then they wake up and realize, oh, I was creating all of those. I was all of those people. The most ancient reference to this would actually, thousands of years ago, they just considered there to be 3 states. Deep sleep, which we all know when we fall asleep and hit that deep sleep where we wake up and we're like, wow, something infinitesimal was happening, but I wasn't there. It happened in the blink of an eye. But there was some semblance of an experience to where you wake up and you're like, whoa, I was out. Infinitesimal, but still some semblance of experience. But it is close to just pure consciousness, where there are no objects. You're not conscious of objects when you are in deep sleep. But thousands of years ago, you'd have deep sleep, then you would have the dream state. The sages would just call all of this part of the dream state. Now, sages would say that, and Vedantic scholars would say that the waking state is more like an elevated version of the dream, of the dreaming state. But they are, according to a modern sage within Vedanta or an ancient one, they are so tightly related that you can reference the dream over and over and over again as a case study of perceived separation, perceived differences of name and form, of objects, of realness. Well, this table must be real because I can feel it. There's gravity and there's shoes and there are other people and clothes and walls. All those things exist in the dream. And then you wake up. All of them are gone. You realize it was just a projection of the mind and you say to yourself, wow, that felt so real. But none of it was, of course. It happened. There was a happening, but none of it was real. the perception of separation was an illusion. And that is what we are told this waking state is just an elevated version of. Something we talk about on Daily Vedantic often is that the dream is the perfect reference point for so much of this philosophy. But it's also not even philosophy, it's pure logic. We go from in the dream we're certain something is real because you can knock it, hold it, press against it. Our perceptions tell us it's real. And then we wake up and for 30 seconds, for a minute, we are hyper aware of just how wrong our perceptions can be as arbiters of what's real. And then 5 minutes later, you're brushing your teeth and you're like, well, this is obviously real because, well, I can perceive it. It's hard when I touch it. It is so hilarious. We go from certainty that we can't just trust our perceptions for what's real. A certain awareness that our perceptions can mislead us. And this could happen every 24 hours. And yet, a few minutes later, we go back to saying, well, of course, this is real and these other people are different than me and separate from me because, well, this isn't a dream. And that kind of thing happens in a dream, but this, I perceive it as completely real, so it must be. This philosophy, the sages, the lineage, the galaxy of sages for thousands of years have said over and over again, your perceptions will mislead you. It's the nature of our senses to take us to an illusion of separation. It's the nature of the mind to create a sense of egoism that is separate, a separate I-ness that is separate from the world around us. And from other vantage points, it's not philosophy, it's pure logic. That this idea of separation, an object from its environment, object being separate from its environment is that duality, that idea of separation is so pixel thin, even from just what we know about an object and its environment. Take the human and put them in space. Won't survive a minute because of the interdependence of everything between the objects and the environment. The oxygen we depend on every second of every day. The air pressure that has to be so perfect. We require an endless amount of perfect conditions to exist. Require them. Not just benefit from them, but require them to exist. Like a hand requires an infinite number of conditions, including all of the blood flowing to it from the host of the body. So much so that you would never think, okay, the hand can be separate from the body. And in essence, the exact same logic goes for the body from the environment. And yet we are under the illusion, the idea that, oh no, I'm separate from the world around me. So whether it's the dream example and that perception of separateness in different people, and then you wake up and realize, oh, that was all me. Whether that's the reference or whether it's the waking state right now and the reference being, oh no, I'm separate from the world around me because, well, I'm wireless. And I jump off the ground. I must be separate. Both of these ideas of separation fall flat when you spend 30 seconds, 60 seconds thinking clearly about them. And this waking state, we're told, is this elevated version of a dream. That you can just go back to that reference. And if you listen closely, the message is the exact same perspective of separation, of otherness in the dream. is happening again right now in the waking state. When we transcend it, because it is inevitable. It is inevitable for us to get back to our natural state. As the Buddhists say, every step is a step towards enlightenment. Maybe you got to go 10,000 steps towards misguided moksha, misguided pursuit of the self. Substance abuse problems for 1,000 lifetimes. Maybe you got to go 1,000 feet away. But even then, hitting rock bottom tells you, all right, that ain't it. Getting $1 million tells you, okay, that ain't it. And it might be misguided moksha, misguided pursuit of your natural state of liberation. But it still might be a necessary exhaustion of desire through experience that then says, okay, check that off the box. That ain't it. What else could be it? And maybe you eventually get towards, okay, maybe an ancient message. It's been around for who knows how long, because we really don't know how old this philosophy is. Maybe there's some truth to it if it is stuck around this long. I'm not even saying that you should be at this point. Maybe you're just still kind of at the zoo looking around at exotic concepts just for their own entertainment value. That's totally fine. I will say if you're doing that, then you're on your way to diving into one of them, because 1 in 10,000 people find these concepts entertaining, much less truly thought-provoking. But it is inevitable that we do wake up into this fourth state. This fourth state of consciousness that is, in this realm, we call it pure consciousness, pure awareness, objectless consciousness, existence itself, bliss, truth, reality, whatever words we use for it, will always fall flat from the experience itself. But we're told that that fourth state, that inevitable, absolute state, is our natural state. And to return to that state of pure awareness or pure bliss, pure existence itself, to return to that state, all we have to do is open our eyes in this current one. As Ramatirtha said, open your eyes and the universe teaches you Vedanta. I hear it time and time again. People will listen to a handful of these, or they'll pick up a book recommendation and then feel like, man, I'm seeing it everywhere. These principles, attach you lose, detach you gain. Wisdom is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. Love is seeing no otherness in the world. These principles, another word for Vedanta being Sanatana Dharma, eternal principles. These eternal principles are showing up everywhere. And it's because the person is starting to open their eyes. When we open our eyes, we see what is. We see what we are. And that is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We will see you next time.